Welcome back to the channel. This is Simon Cromer, and today I'm doing a video on the Rupes Milli versus the Flex 3401 VRG, which I have both machines in front of me today. Now, the intention of this video is going to be to really take a deeper dive into both of these machines, cover some of the specs, some of the features, and then at the end of the video, I'm going to be covering which machine I prefer to use for boat detailing. So if you want that information, you're going to have to stick around until the end. Now, with that said, let's go ahead and get started. Now, before we really go head to head, let's just simply talk about these machines in general. Now, both of these machines are high quality, top of the line FA polishers, and really the only one we're missing here is the Makita FA polisher, which that'll have to be for a different video. Now, what is an FA polisher? Well, an FA polisher is a type of polisher that is going to oscillate as it rotates in a rotational direction. So let's go ahead and check this out here from the Rupes Milli. So as you notice here, the head was oscillating in different directions as we were rotating in a clockwise direction. So basically, this is two actions happening at the same time, which typically you'd call a dual action polisher. However, this is a little different because an FA polisher actually does not have the capability to slow down or to slip in the process while you're polishing. So, something like the Rupes LHR series, the Griot's Garage G9, the Max Shine DA polisher, these all have the ability to slow down or actually completely stop as you're polishing depending on the amount of pressure you're applying, the amount of angle, and the FA polisher is a lot different. It doesn't have that capability. So no matter how you're running the machine, how much pressure you're giving, what angle you're running the machine at, this machine is always going to run at the RPM that you have it set at. So what makes this machine great is it's excellent for swirl removal, scratch removal, and light oxidation. When we talk about scratch removal, that is where the FA polisher comes in perfectly. So let's just say, for example, I'm doing a sanding job because we have quite a bit of oxidation. So I'm running 500, 1000, and 2000 Abralon. Now, when I'm doing this process, that's going to put quite a few scratches into the boat. And of course, when I'm finished, I'm going to follow up with a rotary buffer, a wool pad, a heavy cut compound, but that's not going to be enough to really get out all those scratches to get that final gloss finish that you're looking for. So we're going to have to follow up with an FA polisher to do that. Now, I have the Flex 3401 VRG in front of me, and we're really going to talk about some of the best pads to use to remove swirls, to remove scratches, and to remove light oxidation. So right here, we have the orange Lake Country Forest pad. It's high quality. This is going to be great for medium scratches, general polishing. So any polishing where you're not doing any sanding, this pad is going to be perfect. And then of course, this pad will take out swirls as well. Now, if you're doing a sanding job, really the best pad to use on the market is going to be the gray Lake Country pad. This is extremely heavy duty, going to take out scratches rapidly. Of course, going to remove swirls. But if you're doing general polishing, which includes no sanding, I would definitely just stick to the orange pad. Now, the reason I don't have these pads with the Rupes Milli is because, quite frankly, I don't think the Rupes Milli can hold or withstand these types of pads. So let's go ahead and talk about the Rupes Milli and talk about what pads to run with the Milli. Now, the Milli is really good for running the purple foamed wool Lake Country pad. This pad is excellent for light oxidation. So this will be your best pad to run for light oxidation. Also, it'll take out a few scratches, but not anything like that gray Lake Country. And then finally, general polishing. Yes, you can use swirl removal, absolutely. So this is a very versatile pad, and it comes in handy for pretty much any three of those needs that we just mentioned. So scratches, swirls, or light oxidation. Then finally, guys, you got to keep in mind that Rupes does make their own line of foam pads. So when it comes to foam pads, really the best pad to run with the Milli is going to be the coarse, heavy-duty foam pad by Rupes. So this is the pad to use for any scratch removal, any swirl removal with the actual Milli. So these are some of the machines, some of the pads to run with the FA polisher. Other than that, these machines both retail around $400 to $500 brand new. Now, let's go ahead and let's actually jump into each of these machines individually. Let's talk about some of the features and some of the specs with the Rupes Milli and the 3401 VRG. First up is the Rupes Milli. So of course, guys, the first feature, the Rupes Milli, is gear driven, just like any FA posture, which means it doesn't have the capability to slow down or to slip as you're running the posture. So no matter the pressure or the angle you're running the posture at, it does not have the ability to slow down. So it's always going to run at the RPMs that you have it set at. Next up is going to be, we have a hook and a loop type of attachment. So all that means is we have our backing plate right here, and then we have the pad, and the connection or the adhesion with the pad is hook and loop, which again is very standard with your high quality FA polishers out there. So it's really easy to replace or to put on and take off the pad. Then we have a clockwise direction. So let's go ahead and let's check this out from the Milli. So let's go. So as you notice, this rotates clockwise, which means when I'm using the machine, it's always going to pull me to the right. So because of that clockwise rotation, the machine will pull you to the right. And pretty much, that's nothing bad or nothing good. It just depends all on preference. But I am right-handed. I do run my left hand here on the knob, my right hand down here on the trigger. Now, next up, we have a passive type of trigger, which I think is a really cool feature with the Milli. So if I'm going to turn this all the way up to 6, which is the max setting, I can actually control how much speed I'm running just by how much I'm pressing down the trigger. So we get a variety of speeds depending on how I'm using the trigger. So let's just check this out for a minute. So you guys can see there, I kind of ran like a 1, a 2, a 3, 4, a 5, and a 6. So really cool feature, which does not come with every FA posture. Now next up is going to be, we do have a trigger switch lock. So this is pretty standard, with most of your high quality postures. But when we're running the machine, we can actually lock the speed in place without having our hand on the trigger. So check this out. Again, pretty standard, and what this allows you to do is it does, which this machine is pretty heavy, but it does allow you to run this machine with one hand where you don't have to have your finger on the trigger. So sometimes your finger will get tired, and if you're running this machine for hours, you really don't want to have to press the trigger in the entire time. So again, pretty standard with most of your high-end polishers. We also have a long shaft type of compartment. So this is where all the gears are to run the head of the buffer, and this is enclosed in a plastic shell, which is really great because you can't burn yourself as you're running the posture. So I really like what they did with the plastic here. It protects kind of their shell, and it's good for the user because you can't burn, and it really gives you a good feel and good look to the machine. So that's kind of a feature of the Milli. Next up is going to be, we do have a knob handle. So your control here with the machine really is just this knob piece right here. So it allows you to kind of control your buffer, which I think is really cool, and it's actually pretty comfortable to use. Now, next up after that is we're gonna have speeds 1 to 6. So we have 6 different settings here, which range from 265 to 535 RPM. So, low end starting at 1 is going to be around 265. At the high end at 6, going to be right around 535 RPM. So that's a pretty good range, and it's a really good range for an FA posture. So something that you want to appreciate with that feature. Following with that, yes guys, this machine is pretty heavy. It is 6.17 pounds. So you got to be able to run this machine. You got to have a little bit of strength to yourself to be able to run this thing properly. So it's not for everyone. It's not really for younger kids or older people in general. So you got to be able to take a grip with this thing. Pretty heavy, 6 pounds. If you're gonna be running this all day, it does take a toll on your body. So especially depending on what you're doing, if you're gonna be running this thing on the haul, it does get tiring after a while. So definitely a pretty solid, heavy machine, well built. Now next up after that is we have 5 and 6 inch backing plates, which are interchangeable. So the really nice thing about this is you can change out your backing plate. It's very simple. You just take out the screws, and it actually comes with, when you buy the polisher, it comes with a 5-inch and a 6-inch backing plate, which is interchangeable, easy access. Take out your screws, switch out the plate. So very cool type of thing with the Milli. And like I said, you get that when you buy the polisher. Now, After that, we do have 120 volts, and this is a 7 amp polisher. After that, guys, we have a long cord. So we have a 30-foot cord, which I think is incredible, guys. The extra cord length is really cool because depending on where you're working on the boat, you may not even need an extension cord, which I just think it saves you time and it saves you the hassle of having to deal with another extension cord. Now, finally, the last thing here is really, if you care or if you think it's important, well, it's made in Germany. So this is a little bit about some of the specs, some of the features with the Rupes Milli. Really cool machine, a lot of cool things going on here. And yeah, a lot of things to appreciate compared to some of the other FA polishers on the market. So with that said, guys, let's go ahead and talk about the Flex 3401 VRG. Here it is, the Flex 3401 VRG, also known as the Beast. This also is gear driven, just like every FA polisher. Not going to touch on this a lot as we already have in the past. So as you're polishing, no ability to slip or slow down during the process. Next up is going to be, we do have the hook and loop type of attachment system. So just like the Millie, very easy to pull off and to put pads back on. And again, both of these hook and loop systems are extremely aggressive, so you don't have to worry about your pads falling off while you're polishing. Unlike the Rupes Milli, we actually have a counterclockwise rotation. So check this out. So we can see here the machine is rotating in that counterclockwise action, which means when I am buffing or polishing right, this is going to pull me to the left. So it's not a good or bad thing. It's more of a preference, and it's something to consider. Are you right-handed? Are you left-handed? And what do you prefer as you're polishing? Do you prefer this machine to pull you to the left or pull you to the right? Because as you're running the machine, you're going to have to actually pull it back. You're going to have to fight against the way that it's pulling you. So if this is going to pull me to the left, I'm eventually going to have to come back to the right. So, that really is a preference type of thing to consider. Now, next up, we do have an aggressive trigger, which means whatever I set my polisher at is what that machine is going to run at. So if I have it at 2, it's going to run at 2. I don't have the option to kind of control the level of speed that I want to with the trigger, which is a little bit different than a Millie. So again, if I have this on a 3, I really can't control this at a 1. Check it out. Yeah, not much of a passive trigger with the 3401 VRG. Then we have a short compartment shaft, which is different than the Millie. So this is very short, very compact. And yeah, I'm not going to lie, when you're running the machine, you do have the potential to burn your hand on this part of the machine because it does get pretty hot. So unless you're not wearing gloves, you want to be careful while you're using the 3401 VRG. Now, with the new machine that they did come out with in 2022, they actually upgraded this part and they now have a plastic shell so you cannot burn yourself. So I haven't really played around or had the opportunity to get my hands on the new 3401 VRG, but that will be a video in the future. So with that said, guys, let's go ahead and continue. We also have a regular handle. So versus a knob on the Millie, we have just a regular normal handle. And I think with this type of handle, you actually are able to get more control over the machine. So we're able to get all 4 fingers here on the handle, and that's going to allow for more control versus your knob type of feel. So this also, yes, you do feel in control. This is a comfortable handle to work with. The Flex does have speeds ranging between 1 and 6, and that ranges between 160 to 480 RPM. So a little bit lower and not as high of RPMs as the Millie. The Millie can top off at 535 RPMs. The Flex can top off at 480 RPM. So maybe something to consider, but we'll talk about that at the end of the video. Now, next up is going to be, we have a 5.73 pound machine. So this machine is actually a little lighter or slightly lighter than the Millie. The Millie comes in at 6.17 pounds. So yeah, you still need to have muscle. You need to be able to run this machine. It's going to kind of tire you out the more you use it, depending on what part of the boat you're using. So again, not really an ideal machine for a kid or somebody who's older. After that, guys, we do have a 6-inch backing plate. Well, I actually think it's a 5.5-inch backing plate, and this is what comes with the machine. So this only comes with 1 backing plate, and yes, it's very easy to take off. You have 1 screw in the middle here, and you can buy, if you want a bigger plate, you can buy that online, but it only comes with this 5.5-inch backing plate, and again, very easy to take off and remove. After that, guys, we have a 120 volt type of machine, and it's 10.9 amps. So a little bit higher amp than your Milli. Your Milli is running at 7 amps. We have 10.9 amps with the Flex 3401 VRG. Then we have a short cord. So this cord is only 10 feet. So unfortunately, we don't have that 30-foot cord, which I thought was awesome. With the Milli, we only have a 10-foot cord. So you absolutely will need to have an extension cord on hand. And finally, if you are concerned about this, this machine is made in Germany. So this is a little bit about the specs and the features of the 3401 VRG the Beast. Now for the grand question, which machine do I like better? Which one do I prefer for boat detailing? Now I really like this question because I feel like a lot of you guys probably don't know which machine I actually prefer, because I do use both of these in the business. Now the machine I prefer for boat detailing is gonna be the Flex 3401 VRG, and here's why. Although the Flex doesn't stand up to all the features and specs that maybe the Milli has, such as, we don't get our passive trigger like we get with the Milli, and also we have higher RPMs. We're able to max out higher on the Milli. But guys, I like the Flex 3401 for this reason in particular. So if you don't know anything about my business, I do a lot of boat restoration, which means sanding jobs, buffing, and I need to be able to take out a lot of scratches. And this is the machine that allows me to do that, because I'm able to run the Lake Country gray pad, which I use often with the Flex 3401 VRG. This thing is durable, it's indestructible. I've had this since the day I bought it 2-3 years ago, has not broke on me since, and I use this thing on a weekly basis. So the Milli, on the other hand, the Milli does not hold up very well with these Lake Country pads, and I think the pads are just too durable, too heavy duty to run with the Milli. I've had the Milli break on me. I've had the backing plates break. I've just had a lot of issues not being able to handle the capacity that I want to run the machine at. So when I'm talking about like the amount of pressure, I apply quite a bit of pressure in pounds into the surface I'm working with, and typically the Milli can't handle that. So by no means am I saying that the Milli is not worth it. It's not good. And guys, in fact, if you're a boat owner and you're only going to be detailing your boat once a year, the Milli might be a great option for you, especially once you get that boat maintained in proper condition. So the Flex, more durable, more aggressive, going to be able to run the Lake Country pads a lot more efficiently. And the Milli, I think, is better for light polishing and light scratch removal. Now, this is the Flex, this is the Milli. I also think the Flex actually has more control. So because you have this bigger handle here, you have this shorter shaft, you get more control over the machine. Whereas the Milli, I've noticed, with such this long compartment shaft, it's very hard to control this knob. Yes, it's comfortable, but again, I don't think you get full control over the machine. Sometimes you kind of gotta put your hand down here just to control it properly. And yeah, I know that this machine gets very hot, right? You're able to burn yourself here, but for me, this machine, really, I'm concerned about quality and results, and this machine gets me that. So guys, this is the Flex, this is the Milli. Make your own decision. Both of these are high price points, incredible machines. You cannot go wrong with either machine. Now, I'm going to include links in the description to buy both of these machines at the best price. So if you want to do that, check out the link in the description. And with that said, guys, if you like the video, leave a like, share this video with other people so that we can reach more people, help more people. And machines is a really important part of polishing. If you haven't subscribed, what are you doing? Hit that subscribe button now, and I will see you on the next video. Peace out.